So in what ways do you express your heritage in the work that you do or in your profession? One of the things that I think is critical for Latinos and Hispanic entrepreneurs and leaders, whether in business or in government, is to give fully of yourself. And I think that's what at least I've seen in the 20 plus years that I've been from Mayor Nogales to work in the state government or in the federal government and now in the private sector, that the work ethic, our cultural work ethic is key for how we succeed and how we work in our various communities. So that's an important element, I think, of our success, is that we portray our heritage in how we think about and how we care for our work, that it's done right, that we put as much time and energy and really love for what we're doing into the results. So that's what I've found day in and day out. And, you know, other cultures have that same commitment to work. But I think in growing up on the border in Nogales, that's one of the things that I learned, is that the successful business people had a great work ethic. And that's kind of what separated us from those that are successful and those that aren't successful. So one of the things that I'm the most proud of is how rich and deep our cultural heritage is. I was born and raised on the border between the U.S. and Mexico. And so I appreciated from an early age what it was to be bicultural, whether it was an expression of that in our language, speaking fluent English and Spanish, or appreciating music, appreciating the arts. I think that that is one of the things that I've appreciated and have grown with throughout my life. But it was helped because of the influence of living and growing up on the border, where it wasn't foreign to see a mariachi group on one weekend playing at the park, or driving up to Tucson and listening to a rock band or a pop group. So that diversity, I think, and that richness of our culture is deep in all of the Southwest. But even when I traveled and was able to work in Washington, D.C., I appreciated that people who, and other young students that were in D.C. for these internships, those that came from the Southwest or the border regions or pockets of the country where the diversity, more diversity exists, I think had a deeper appreciation for that mix of language, food, art, and all of those things, I think, make up the richness of our culture. And it's definitely something that we are all proud of. So when I was 16, I had the privilege to be chosen by Congressman Pastor to be a congressional page and go to Washington, D.C. for a semester, my junior year in high school. And it was because of that experience that I recognized and realized that as long as you're willing to work hard and you're willing to put the hours in educating yourself, you can make a difference, but you can really do and be whatever you want to do and be. So I went to DC with the idea that you had to be a lawyer to be in politics, to be in elected office. But I realized in Congress that it didn't matter, that you could be a teacher, you could be a doctor, a lawyer, a nurse, really anything, and work your way up the political chain. And so that was a really significant moment for me, thanks to the congressman's sponsorship and trust in, a 16-year-old boy from Nogales, that we could strive for success, and that public education was doing a good job, that I was a result and a product of public education in Nogales, and I could go to DC and compete with some of the top students from all over the country who were also part of that program. So that was, I think, something that was very meaningful, special, and it's, I think, a direct result of Arizona having Congressman Pastor as one of the few, at that point, national Latino Congress persons to really think about how you gave, and how you have a responsibility to give other Latinos and other people who have the same cultural background and appreciation as you. You have an obligation to give them a chance also to succeed. So that was something that was very meaningful to me. And when I was mayor, and when I was at the state, and when I was at the Department of Homeland Security, and even now in the private sector, it's so important that you always think about those that are coming behind you, so that you can give them the opportunity as well. Because those are the ones, all of you who are listening to this, are going to be the leaders that we're going to rely on to make sure that, we are a nation that's fulfilling the true potential that we have. So I think that's the meaning, or that's the knowledge that I gained from that experience back. This would be in 1994, 95, when I was between 94, that it was that fall semester, so 94 into 95. So the advice that I give, from a educational journey perspective, one of the things that I think is critical to understand is that life is going to be very different for your generation than it was for my generation and the generations before mine. And that is because the pace at which technology is changing is so rapid that we have to become lifelong learners. In other words, we are always going to be needing to refresh our skills. And it might be a skill refresh, or it might be an entire new profession that we're going to be challenged to enter. Technology now changes our kind of paradigm about every 2 to 3 years. If you think about that, a person who graduated from high school or college in the 80s or in the 70s probably was sure that they were going to have that same career for 30 years. And it was very seldom that they would change or shift careers in that 30-year cycle. Now, more than ever, and it's going to happen quicker as we go along into the future, you might be in a career, you might be in a job or a profession for 2 to 3 years, and you have to reskill and you have to rethink paradigms different. So I think that's a challenge to all of you. One, understand that that's the challenge and that's the world that we live in, and that we're going to live in. So don't be afraid of it. And two, be open to the reality that we never stop learning. In other words, you'll graduate from community college and go on to college, go on to the university, or you'll finish college and then you'll continue to enhance your skills in your job, in your profession, in your career, about every 2 to 3 years. And that's okay. I think that you are probably still not used to seeing 40-year-old students or 50-year-old students in the environment that you're learning in. And I think that's going to become the norm, and it's okay. We all are going to experience that, and especially your generation, you're going to experience it more than I did or more than the generations before me. So I think that that's the advice that I would give to all of you. Embrace it. Embrace that challenge and understand that you're not going to ever stop learning if you want to stay ahead. And in order to stay ahead, embracing that, what might seem scary or the unknown, it's okay. Because everyone in your generation is going to be experiencing that. And a lot of it is going to be technology based. So you're going to be forced into that. So let's embrace it, right? That's the most successful people are those that embrace the challenge, rise to the occasion, and just succeed and excel. And you all, because of your background and your training and your education at the community college, can now be thoughtful thinkers of that and critical thinkers of how you fit in into that world, into that space. And so I think that community colleges, Maricopa Community College for sure, have an obligation. Here we are, the largest county in the U.S., Maricopa County, with a huge and growing Latino, Hispanic demographic. We're going to see we're going to be the test ground for how community colleges adjust so that our Latino families succeed. And it begins with the work that you're doing now, but it extends into that thinking of how people learn. And you're going to be part of that, right? So before you went to school from K-9, and then someone said, oh, we need 4 more years, so we're going to go K-12. And now what I'm saying is we might need to go K-14 so that in order to have the proper skills for the work that's ahead, graduating high school is not enough. You're going to need community college. But the challenge for Maricopa County and Maricopa Community College system is how are we elevating the challenge so that we know that you're going to have to go on beyond the community college years and into the university. And it's going to be an evolution into the jobs that you are able to attract, keep, get, and then change. You're going to shift. So I think that that's what the system can do, the community college system can do, but you as students can help transform that by challenging and making sure that the tools that business people and governments are giving you the tools to succeed, whether it's broadband, so you don't think twice that your home has electricity. Your home should be just like you have water, you have electricity, you have broadband, because that's how you communicate. And the beauty about broadband, and one of the programs that I've been involved with is Connect to Compete, where we're bringing low cost, high quality broadband to every home in America. But online is the only place that everyone is equal, right? So the student that has the most and the student that doesn't, you're equal in the information that you're able to tap into online. If you have access to the information, you have exactly the same ability to search it, get it, understand it, retain it, and then practice it. So I think that that's how we encourage students like you to succeed, is to think about the world beyond your school, beyond your neighborhood, beyond your city, beyond your state, and really now beyond our country, because that's who we compete with. We don't compete in the past between one school and another. No, now we're actually competing against other countries and their students. And so we have to be prepared to compete against them, because they do everything they can every single day to compete against us. So we just have to be prepared. So I think that that's, in a nutshell, how I know, or why I know, that students at Maricopa Community College are going to be the future leaders, prepared to take this county, this state, and this country really into the amazing opportunities that the remainder of this century, the 21st century, has available and in store for all of us. Thank you.